Hey folks, Eric here, the Whatever Guy, because it really is whatever for me. And do you folks want to know, can these Alabama medical cannabis licenses be bought and sold? You guys stick around, man, and we'll talk about that. As you guys know, man, my name's Eric. I'm the Whatever Guy, and I usually shoot videos a couple days a week, basically keeping you guys updated in the world Delta 8, Delta 9, Delta 10, hemp cannabis, just what's going on around. And this is a question that's actually been on my mind for quite a while. And I'm not going to lie to you guys about it. When I first saw this article, I originally thought it was an article like a play on the AMCC, because as it stands right now, it appears with the Alabama medical cannabis cartel and the way they're doing business, is almost like these licenses can be bought and sold before they even issue them. But barring that, talking about after the issuing of the licenses, talking about the discussion after the fact, there was basically a lot of arguments and a lot of speculation at the very beginning of this licensing process, especially when you consider the fact that Stephen Stokes was not going to allow the commission to even speak to some of these prospective applicants and stuff. And we're getting some of that cleared away now. But as it stands, if we had went and done business the way we were previously doing businesses, a lot of these companies would have gotten licenses, didn't even have the infrastructure up to get medical marijuana up to 60 days. And the question you have to ask yourself is, why would they go through the process of doing this application and getting all this stuff done so they can get issued a license? And the answer to that question is that a lot of these MSOs, a lot of these MSOs, the way they're getting into these states is that after the issuing of the licenses, these individuals are selling these licenses to other people, to multi-state operators, to these big companies out there. So the question falls forward: can these Alabama licenses, medical licenses, be sold in the future? And so we're going to take a look at this article over here, and this is an opinion article. Although I will say that a lot of the stuff that he points out in here is not opinion. I mean, it's basically fact. All the way around. So let's go ahead and take this out and take a look at it and see. And like I said before, guys, we've had this argument many times. I'm an Alabama first type of guy. I believe that the people that are here, that there's infrastructure here in the state. I believe that we have the experts that we need in the state already. I don't believe that we need to bring anybody from the outside in to run medical marijuana in the state of Alabama. I believe with like I said, with the infrastructure that we have in place, with the applicants that have applied, we can provide medical marijuana in the state of Alabama without allowing these multi-state operators to come in here and buy up all this space. We need Alabama people to benefit from this. Alabama farmers, Alabama processors, Alabama applicants, Alabama people that are from Alabama. We don't want people coming from Georgia and everywhere else, or Nevada, or wherever they're coming from, coming in here and telling us how to run business. Obviously, we may need someone to come in here and tell us how to do business, because we can't seem to get this correct. But as it stands, those people out there, that there's always been a question: were there people out there actually applying for this license so that you just get the license and sell it on the other end? So we're going to look at this and see what it says. It says shortly, and this is something, and by the way, the first part of this article here, I had no clue that this even went on. Like I didn't know this until about a week ago. I actually made some phone calls to find out exactly who it was that got this phone call, and I was able to figure that out, although they weren't willing to release the name of the company that actually called them. But this was kind of a weird situation right here. It says shortly after the Alabama medical cannabis cartel announced in June its initial list of companies that would receive a license to operate in the state, an executive with one of the companies that didn't make the cut was driving out of Montgomery when his cell phone rang. On the other end of the line was an executive at another cannabis company, a company that did want a license that day. The call was to see if there was any interest in purchasing that newly acquired licenses. It was unbelievable that it was so bold and so quick, said the cannabis company executive, who provided the information on condition of anonymity. The executive also declined to provide the name of the caller because he said at some point his company might want to make that deal. That deal never progressed because a few days later, Montgomery County Circuit Court judge put in place a restraining order, bringing the issuing of the license to a halt, and shortly thereafter, the AMCC announced that it was voiding those licenses and starting again. And obviously, we have started again for a second time and started again for a third time. Still, the alleged offer brings to light an issue that has long lingered just in the background of the AMCC's licensing process. Is it possible for companies that are approved for a license to make a quick buck or a bunch of bucks from selling that license to one of its cash-rich national cannabis companies? The short answer appears to be maybe. There is a provision within the Alabama medical cannabis law that prohibits simply selling a license. In order for a licensed cannabis company to transfer its license to another company, the licensed and potential buyer would have to seek approval from the AMCC first. And it appears, and we've already discussed the Alabama medical cannabis cartel as it stands right now. So we know that there's a bunch of crap going on in there. That section of law also prohibits selling or transferring more than 35% of stock or controlling rights in a licensed cannabis company. Such a transfer must also be approved by the Alabama medical cannabis cartel. That would seem to at least make the prospect of license swapping extremely unlikely. But attorneys who represent cannabis companies said the provisions are not that difficult to circumvent in most cases. The bottom line is that it can be done, and there's really no law that can stop it, said one company's attorney who spoke on condition of anonymity. It's complicated, and the process would depend on the situation and what the companies are trying to accomplish. It likely wouldn't be an outright sell, but a process where certain percentages of a company were moved in several cent transactions. But even without jumping through the loopholes, a transfer can still take place with AMCC approval. If an agreement is made between the company that finishes in the top five and a company wishing to purchase that license finish relatively highly in scoring, the attorneys who spoke with APR believe such a deal would likely be approved. Fueling the speculation that such transfers of licenses might occur is the reality of the cannabis market, which has been a hotbed of mergers and acquisitions over the last 2 years. Acquisition deals worth hundreds of millions of dollars are almost routine within the industry. That is particularly true in Florida. The state Alabama chose as its cannabis role model, where between late 2020 and early 2023, there have been at least a dozen high-dollar acquisitions. That includes Verano and Trulieve, two behemoths in the national cannabis industry, who spent more than $3 billion combined to take over smaller Florida-based companies. Also adding to the speculation in Alabama is the fact that several applicants for licenses mysteriously list addresses on business licenses that were shared with other applicants. For example, Verano and Gulf Shore Holdings are a Montgomery address, as does TheraTrue CCS of Alabama and RJK Holdings. Guys, we've already discussed the fact that there's several of these companies out there that had licenses or address that were tied to several different companies at the same time. There is a law, there is a law or something that they wrote up basically that states that if you applied for one license, you weren't able to get a license down the line, or you couldn't be associated with another license down the line. I'm not sure if those laws are being followed all the way through as far as the commission. I'm pretty sure that with everything else they got going on, they're having a hard time keeping track of what they're doing and what they're not doing. But as it stands right now, we've got a lawsuit, an injunction order today at 4 o'clock that Judge Anderson will be hearing that could put a stop on the whole thing before we even get the integrated licenses issued. But as it stands, guys, it appears that we are sitting in a position where we can allow these MSOs to come in and take over down the road. And I hope that those people out there that are getting those licenses, that are spending the time to do that are not doing it, that are doing it in good faith. They're doing it with the intention of getting medical marijuana up on the shelf as fast as possible for patients. But that call at the very beginning of this story is very troubling. It brings to light quite a few things. And my thing is like, if you're going to apply for this license and get this license, you need to follow through with it. All right, folks, this is Whatever Guy signing off, and I'll talk to you guys later, man. Love you. See ya.